In the dim light of the dashboard, the chill of the night seemed to creep into the car, wrapping around us like an unwelcome cloak. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a journey into the unknown, a spine-tingling tale of a haunted highway that will make your hair stand on end. Back in 2012, my best friend Savannah and I were just two high school students with no idea that our ordinary Friday night was about to take a terrifying turn. Savannah lived in Crown Point while I resided 30 minutes north in a small community called Lake Valley. That night, she picked me up on her way to Farmington, another hour-and-a-half drive north from her place. It was a long journey, but we were used to it. Little did we know, this trip would be unlike any other. We spent the evening in Farmington, enjoying the bustling town until the clock struck 10. It was time to head back, so we piled into Savannah's dad's car, ready for the long drive home. Savannah took the passenger seat, her dad behind the wheel, and I settled into the back seat, oblivious to the eerie encounter awaiting us. As we drove down Highway 371, the darkness swallowed the road, and silence filled the car. We reached a desolate stretch known as Junction 5, an isolated T-shaped intersection that locals whispered about. The clock ticked past midnight as we passed through, our only company the shadows dancing alongside us. Suddenly, flashing red and blue lights pierced the night, appearing out of nowhere in the rearview mirror. Confused, we exchanged glances. There hadn't been another car on the road for miles, yet here was a police car pulling us over. Savannah's dad calmly assured us it was probably just a faulty taillight. We pulled over, and then we waited. Minutes felt like hours as we sat in silence, the chill of unease creeping in. 10 minutes passed, then the officer finally approached the car. His presence was unsettling. He didn't even bother to make eye contact, just knocked on the window with an air of detachment. As Savannah's dad rolled down the window, all we could see was the officer's midsection. His head and chest were obscured, shrouded in darkness. "Have you been drinking?" the officer asked, his voice devoid of emotion. Savannah's dad, bewildered, replied, "No, sir, I haven't." The officer's questioning was blunt, lacking the usual formalities. It was odd, almost as if he were performing a scripted routine from a different time. After several more tense minutes, the officer requested Savannah's dad's driver's license. He didn't ask for registration or proof of insurance, just the license. As her dad fumbled with his wallet, the officer shone a blinding flashlight directly at my face, preventing me from catching a glimpse of his face or badge number. Once the officer had the license, he retreated to his squad car without another word. Savannah's dad peered into the side mirror, muttering a perplexed, "What the heck?" under his breath. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but a cold dread had settled in, silencing me. The officer returned, handing back the license. "Are you sure you haven't been drinking, sir?" he pressed, his tone unchanging. Savannah's dad, growing frustrated, insisted again that he was sober and demanded to know if he was being charged. The officer merely returned the license with a terse, "Good night," and vanished into the darkness without further explanation. Relieved but unsettled, we buckled up and prepared to continue our journey. But as we merged back onto Highway 371, a vehicle emerged from the shadows, racing past us with unsettling speed. Savannah's dad's demeanor changed, his urgency palpable as he repeated, "We need to go home. Now." He floored the gas pedal, the speedometer climbing to 80 miles per hour. I clung to my seat, an unshakable feeling of dread gnawing at me. He instructed me to call my parents as soon as we got cell service and have them pick me up. His words were clipped, his focus unwavering on the road ahead. The following day, Savannah and I couldn't shake the encounter from our minds. At school during lunch, Savannah approached me, her eyes wide with unease. "You won't believe what we found out," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. That night, Savannah's dad had called the Shiprock Navajo Nation Police Department to report the peculiar officer. But the police insisted they hadn't patrolled that area, claiming all units were on a call near Gallup, New Mexico. Savannah's dad was stunned, demanding to know who had stopped us, if not the local police. This isn't the first time, the officer on the line admitted reluctantly. We've received several reports of similar encounters. There was an officer who died in that area months ago in a head-on collision with another driver, a woman. The realization hit us like a cold wind. The officer who stopped us was no longer among the living. In Navajo culture, spirits not laid to rest properly struggle to cross over, becoming restless entities known as teenies. These spirits mimic the living, searching for those they knew in life or people who resemble them. The officer was one such spirit, trapped in a loop, forever reliving the night of his tragic demise. Savannah's dad sought guidance from a medicine man who confirmed what the police had hinted at. The spirit had attached itself to the driver's license, seeking a connection to the world it had left behind. The officer was searching for the girl involved in the crash, mistaking Savannah and me for her in his tormented state. From that day forward, I avoided Highway 371, unwilling to tempt fate and encounter the spectral officer again. The stories about that stretch of road grew. Tales of ghostly figures wandering the roadside and phantom vehicles appearing in rearview mirrors. Those who dared to drive alone sometimes reported an unseen presence in their back seat. The chilling encounter was a stark reminder of the thin veil between our world and the next, and the restless spirits that linger just out of sight. The highway is haunted, not just by the ghosts of the past, but by the mysteries that refuse to be laid to rest. If you've had your own encounters with the supernatural, share your stories below. Remember, in the realm of the unknown, the truth is often stranger and more terrifying than fiction.